Hello everyone, I am Sai Krishna, an experienced developer from India. I welcome you to this project where we will build our own FX currency converter using Django and Nextjs. Our aim is to develop an application which will convert one currency to another based on the currency exchange rates. So we will use some publicly available APIs for getting conversion data, and we will store that inside a SQLite database, and then we will process the data using backend. Based on the request from the user, we will do the conversion, and we will give the response to front end. So for doing this, we will leverage the power of Django to create our backend, and Next.js to build a dynamic and engaging front end. So this is how the final outcome will look like. So we have this currency converter application. Here we have from currency and to currency options. We can select USD if you want to convert from USD to INR, or USD to Euro. Then you can just select the currencies, and then you can just click on convert, and yeah, you can see the amount conversion over here. And if you want to try with some other currency, for example Indian rupee, I'm doing the same and it works. I can just change the amount, and yeah, this is so precise. So this is what we'll be building by the end of the project. So let's start building it. First, let's start with setting up our project environment. You need Python and Node.js inside your computer. If you don't have them installed inside your computer, then please go to their official websites and install them. Once you're done with that, just go to any folder, create a folder, and then open it with your favorite code editor, preferably VS Code. So in my case, I created this folder called source code inside my file explorer, and then I just opened it with VS Code. And here, just create a new folder called backend. Once you're done with that, open terminal, and then go to the backend folder. And here you can create a new virtual environment, env. So this will create a virtual environment. It is created. For activating it, I will use this command. Uh, so if you are on Windows, please use this bash terminal if you're not familiar with PowerShell or command line, because commands might be different in Windows PowerShell or this command line. So yeah, virtual environment is activated. Now we have to install Django. So Django is installed. Now let's create a new project. Django admin, start project, FX converter, and I want this project to be created inside this folder. So you have this folder FX converter, which will have all the project files, and you have this manage.py utility file, and then we have to install some other libraries. So in my case, I need few other libraries like request for making API calls, and then Django REST framework for creating backend APIs, REST framework, and then Django course headers, because we have to call APIs from the front end. So we need this library. I think these are enough. Unknown command. Okay, sorry. Pip install request Django REST framework, and then okay, I forgot one more library, which is like Python decouple. We are going to maintain our secrets inside separate file, so we will use this Python decouple library for getting secrets from that file. So we have all the libraries. Now let's run the server. Python manage.py run server. Then I'll open it. Now you can see the server is running. But we need to do some changes in settings.py file because we have installed some libraries. So we have to include them in our settings file. The first thing we need to do is like inside settings, just add REST framework and then converter, which we will be creating now. So let's create an app called converter. Python manage.py create app converter. Okay, it's start app. Okay, this converter app is created and we have added this inside install apps, and then we have to add course headers. Save. And now in middlewares we have to actually add something like course headers. So this is looking fine. Now we have to go to urls.py file, and then we have to include this converter urls inside this main urls.py file. So let's create urls.py here, and then URL patterns. It will be an empty list, and go to main URLs, and here similar way it will be API slash and then include of API, not API, converter dot URLs. So for so include, we have to import it from Django.urls. Save, and then okay, this is looking good. Now let's create some models. We need tables to store the currency information. So one thing we will do is like we will, so this is how the flow actually goes. So the when the server is started, when a user makes request, we will check whether data is present in the database, like currency information. If it is not present, then we will make a new API call and we will get the data and we will store the data inside database. So when upcoming user makes another request within like for say 1 hour, then we will get the data from the database instead of making a new API call. But if no user made any request in between 1 hour, then what we'll do is like we will make a new API call like when a new user requests after 1 hour, and we will update the database with the updated information. So for doing that, we need first some models in our models.py file, so that this will create some tables in database. So we need two tables mainly. One is for storing currency information, models.model, and then I need two fields. So you can see from the front end, we are storing currency code and then the exchange value. So the currency code models, it will be a character field, and max length is 3 because no currency is more than 3 digits. And then unique is true, and then rate is models dot float field. Save. And then we need another table, update log. So this update log table contains one field which will store the information like when the database is updated, like when the currency table is updated last. So we will have one field which is updated at and then it will be models dot date time field, and then auto now is equal to true. So we have two tables, so we need to do migration. Python manage dot py make migrations, and you can see database is created. Python manage dot py migrate, but you won't see all these tables now, but after running this migrate command you will see all the tables in this database. So for checking the databases, you can install db browser. So open db browser and then click on open database, and then just go to the folder. Example, I just created it here, and then Django. Okay, source code backend, yeah. And you can see the currency table over here, and then update log. So we have these two tables, and the ID primary field is auto generated, so we can ignore it. So now we are done with the models. So we have to create a serializer file. So serializers.py. So here we will just import REST framework serializer, REST framework, import serializers, and then we will import our model from dot models, import currency, because we need a serializer for serializing currency data. Currency serializer, and then serializers dot model serializer class meta. I hope you guys are aware of model serializers. So model serializers, one advantage you get is you don't need to specify fields separately. Based on the model, the fields will be automatically generated. So that's why we are using model serializer, and we only need the code field. We don't need the exchange rate. So this is our serializer file. Now we have to work on views. Let's create views which were required for getting the currency information, and like exchange information, and also list of currencies. So open your views.py file, and then let's start writing our classes. So I'm creating one main class for converting currency. First, let's start with the basic one. So we need so if I open the front end, you can see list of currency codes are coming out here and here. So for getting this information, we need an API. So I'm creating currency list API for getting this data. Currency list, and it will be generics. It will be a list API view. So this generics can be imported from this REST framework, from close this, yeah, from REST frameworks dot REST framework import generics, save, and then it will be list API view. API view, and then save. This view is getting all currencies. For getting all currencies, and then the query set will be currency dot objects dot all, and let's import this model from dot models import currency. And then the serializer serializer class is equal to currency serializer. And let's import it from serializers, import currency serializer, save. And then if you want to test this API, just open Postman. So we have Postman. Let's create, okay, the 127.0.0.1. And then port number is 800. I think this is the port. Okay, error, connection refused. I think server is not started. Yes, python manage.py run server. Send. Okay, it is working. But first thing, we haven't created view yet. Like we haven't assigned this view to some URL. So just go to urls.py file, not this urls here. And then let's call the view from dot views, import currency list, then your path from Django dot urls, import path, and it will be currencies slash and currency list dot as view, because it's a class based view. Name is equal to, let's give it some unique name, currency list, save. And if I go here now, if I enter, okay, 404 preview API slash currencies. Okay, the list is not coming because there is no data in the database. So first we have to give some data. For example, if I just go here and give some data, it will show in the API. But let's build the other API which gets the data, so that we can look at this currencies API. So go to views file again, and then let's start building the other API. So here I will create class convert currency, and it will be API view. I don't need some model views. So define get, and then self comma request, and then okay, we need from currency, and then we need to currency from URL, and then we need amount. So we will make an API call. First we will check like if there is any update required, update rates if necessary. So we haven't created this function yet, but we will create it. So first thing we will do is like we will like when we make a request to this API, first we will check like if there is any update required. Like we will go and check the database, like when it's last updated. If it's updated before some like if it's updated long before, then we will make a new API call, and then we will update the entire database, and then we will continue with the request. So that is what this function will do. So then here accept exception as e, and then we will just logger dot error, log the error, string of e, and then return response uh, like error, unexpected error, and we will return the status as status dot http internal server error http 500 internal server error, and let's import all the required things, and then let's continue. So there is some secure serializers, rename serializers, sorry, yes, and then let's import status from generics, and then status, and we need to import logging library, import logging, and then we will set up logger logging dot get logger, then name, save, and then we will need this response, and this response comes from REST framework dot response, import response, save, and then okay, we need API view as well from REST framework dot views, import API view, save. And is there anything required? Okay, we need to create this function, and then okay, we need to write another thing. We need to write the continuous the function which is going to continue. So we will perform the conversion. So if this function will run first, make the necessary changes if required, and then it will run this perform conversion function, which will take from currency to currency and then amount, and it will get some data and we will return it in the response. So let's start writing this update rates if necessary function. So we will create function update rates if necessary, and then we will it will be like class function. So try, and then we will check last updated time. So last updated is equal to update log. If you remember, we created this table inside database, so it will be like update log dot objects dot latest and updated at, and then if we get some error here, then we will catch the exception, and we will update the logger dot sorry, if not a generic exception, let's use this update log dot does not exist. Then we will just make this last updated as none. Means if there is some last updated date, then the value will be will be updated here. Otherwise we are taking this last updated value as none, and once we get the last updated variable, we will check if not last updated or last updated dot updated at is less than time zone dot now. So let's import this library from date time, import time zone, and then we need time delta as well. Sorry, this time zone library actually comes from the Django.utils library, because we have a time zone function there as well, time delta, and then from Django.utils import time zone. So why we are getting these libraries? So I'll tell you. So first we're getting the last updated value, and then we are checking, like for example, the API which we are going to use now is will be this API from API exchange rate, and for them there is a free tier. So if we use free tier, means if we don't take the paid version of their API, then the API gets updated in 1 day. So for that, in that case, if you observe, like we don't have to like make API call every time, because if your website is getting a lot of traffic, for example 10,000 requests per day, if you're making 10,000 requests to the API, then it's not good, because there will be API limit for each and every website. So it's better to limit by using some form of caching. And like in our case, what we are doing is, like, we are saving the data to the database, and we are thinking like we will update the database every hour. Like if a new request is made, for example, like within 10 minutes, then we will check like when the data is updated. If the data is updated like 1 hour before, sorry, it's not, it's less than 1 hour before, then we will not do anything. We will not make an API call. Instead, we'll get the data from the database. If the request is made like long after the previous update, then we will get data from the API freshly, and we will update the database, and we will take the data like the fresh data from the database. So that is what we are planning to do, and for that we are thinking of keeping some like update frequency. So we'll create an API variable here, like update interval, which will be coming from which will be around like 1 hour by default. It So I'm just mentioning here it is hours. So I will use this over here. So is less than time zone dot now, which will give the current time, and then time delta of hours, update interval, save. And then if it is not, if it is not satisfying, like if it is satisfying this condition, then we will update rates. This information has to be updated. We will update rates, save. And let's work on this update rates function now. Update rates of self, and we will first make an API call to this request dot get, and we will make API call to this exchange rate API URL, and this variable we are just going to create it here, and it will be I'll just get the URL from their website. Yes, this is how the URL will be. So we'll make API call to this particular URL, and they have free version. So you don't need any API key for getting exchange rate information. So for request, I will import this request library, request, save, and then we are getting some response. So let's convert the response to JSON, and then we will check if rates no if rates are not there in data, then raise an exception. like could not fetch rates. If rates are there in data, then it will go to the this line. So we'll get code and then rate in data of rates dot items. It will be a dictionary, which and the key is code and the value will be rate. So we are getting key and value. We're iterating, and then we will just create new object in currency table. So here we will just do this objects dot update or create. So if some value is already there, then we will update. Otherwise, we will create a new record. So code is equal to code, and then defaults. We will call the rate to rate. Save. This will update the currency table with latest currency information, and then uh, update log dot objects dot update or create. Same way, the field name is updated at, and we will create some id. Id is equal to 1, and then defaults is equal to updated at, and then it will be time zone dot now. Save. It will update the currency information and also the update log table with the latest date, like when the information is fetched. And then we have to complete the last and final function. This function perform conversion. So define perform conversion of self. It will take three names from currency to currency and then amount. So we'll do a try catch from rate, which will be coming from database, because in perform currency we are not doing any API call nor any database update. What we are doing is like we are getting data from the database, like based on from currency, like the code in the from currency, we will get the rate from the currency table. And same goes here for two currency, and then based on the amount we'll do some calculation. So first we are getting some from currency code, so we will get the rate. Get code is equal to from currency, and then we will make it upper dot rate. Sorry, rate is a field name because currency table rate is a field, so you don't have to put those parentheses. To rate is equal to currency dot objects dot get code is equal to currency dot upper dot rate, except currency dot does not exist. So return response error invalid currency, and then we will put status dot http 400 add request. Save. And then based on the amount, like from here we will make conversion. So we will keep track of converted amount, which will be like load of sorry, float of amount uh, by from rate. So we are getting the amount and then we are getting the rate. We are dividing it and then we will multiply it with two rate. From rate, and then we will multiply it with two rate. Save. So we'll get converted amount and then we will return the response as this response object, response converted amount. Okay, so let's test the API. So here you can see it's localhost 8000 API slash convert. We have to assign URL for this API. Go to this urls.py file and then let's create a new URL path and then convert. It will get first parameter, URL parameter will be a string and it will contain from conversion, like from currency. And then the second parameter will be a string again, but it will contain two currency. And then the third parameter will be a string, but it will be amount. Save. And then let's import the other API, like other view, convert currency. So convert currency, convert the dot as view. And then we will give it some name. Convert currency. Save. And with comma, save. Let's see whether it's refreshed. Yeah, it's refreshed. So let's call this API. And yeah, it's working. So if I change this to INR, save, it's working. If I if I give it from USD or AUD, and Australian dollar, I convert this, yeah, it is working fine. So we have tested our backend. We left one API. Let's test this as well. Currencies. So if I check now, and you can see you're getting all the currency, like the list of currencies. So the backend is working fine. Now it's time to create front end. So inside this code editor, like create open your terminal and then just create make sure yarn is installed in your computer, or you can also use npx, like npx create next app for installing Nextjs, or you can use yarn create next app. So I'm using yarn. So let's create a next app and I'm naming it like front end. And no, 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 yes, no. This will create a front end project inside our directory. So let it take, it will take some time. Once it is done, just go to the front end directory. Okay, it is done. Go to front end, and then npm run dev. So our backend is running. So now our front end is also running. So if I go to localhost 3000, this is our front end. Okay, once you're done with this, just go to front end directory, to cd front end, and then here add Axios as install this dependency. For that, I will use yarn add Axios. If you have npm, then you can do it like npm install Axios. So this installed Axios. I can do npm run dev. So after that, we have to go to like inside app folder, you have pages.js. First, let's clear out the CSS. We don't need all these CSS styling. So delete, save, clear out, save, and then inside pages.js, just remove everything inside this main block. Remove, save, remove this, and then inside layout, I will just change the title to FX currency converter, which will change this title over here. And then you have empty blank page. So now let's write our front end logic. So inside this page.js, let's write our main logic. First, you have to make sure like you're just keeping this use client at the top. This is something which you have to do in Nextjs 13. And then let's import Axios library. Axios from Axios. And then we need use effect and use state hooks. We will just import it when we are writing. So first thing we have to do is like we have to initiate some variables like state variables. We need one variable for storing currencies information. So currencies and set currencies. And then we will use this use state hook. And initially the value will be empty. And then from currency variable, and then set from currency is equal to use state, but initially I will set it USD, and then const to currency set to currency use state USD, then const amount set amount use state const converted amount or converted result set converted result is equal to use state of null use effect and it will be an empty array. And here we will initially when the page is rendered, we will make an API call and we will get the list of currencies. So we will do axios.get and we will make this API call to our backend. So slash local host and then 8000 slash API slash currencies. And then we will just get the response, and then we will set this currencies variable with this data from this response. And if there are any errors, then we will catch them. Error console dot error fetching currencies, comma error. Save. So this currencies variable will be updated when the page is loaded, and then we will need this. We have to create the main HTML. So I will just create a div, and uh, so it will be container, and then inside that it will have another div, h1 fx currency converter. Save. And then we will have one more div which will contain this part. So let me show you this main page, like the one which I showed in the project showcase. So we are going to create this entire thing in the using the Bootstrap. So let's install Bootstrap first. Cd front end, and then yarn add Bootstrap. Bootstrap is installed, and then let's import Bootstrap. Import bootstrap slash test slash css slash bootstrap dot min dot css. Save. So this will get all the bootstrap styles, and if I go back, look at this, refresh, yes, bootstrap styles are applied. So now let's create this from and to select elements. So we if you observe this from and to select elements, they are like inside a container, and this is occupying half of the width, and this is occupying half of the width. So and this is occupying full width, and convert button is down, and then the conversion amount is down. So for creating this, we have to like first let's go here, and then for the two select elements which are on like taking half of width, let's create two divs inside this div multiplied by 2 class column 6, and then class name column 6, and then the first div will contain one h3. It will contain this from text, and then it will have a select element, select, uh, then the same thing over here, h3, So when we click on the current convert currency, we need a function to run. So let's create the function here, convert currency, which will be this arrow function. And we will make an API call, axios.get. We will call this API HTTP, which will be similar. Let's copy this. And then here, the first one will be from currency. So dollar from currency, and then slash, and then it will be to currency, and then slash, and then it will be amount. So we will get some response. We will capture the response, and then we will update the set converted result to this response dot data dot converted amount. And then we will close this. If we get some error, we will catch it, error, and then we will update the console.log error converting currency. Then just keep the error. Okay, this is looking good. If we go back, we have the UI, which looks very similar to this, but we forgot to do one thing. We have to show the converted result. So converted result, if it's there, then we will use this and symbol. Then we will show this amount, and then from currency is equal to converted result, and then to currency. Save. And then we will add some classes for styling. fs3, I want this text to be larger. So if I go back, and okay, the drop down is not working for some reason. So let's check the network tab. If I refresh the page, I will just go with this option. So you can see 301 moved permanently, and okay, there is some course error. If I go to the front end, I remember like okay, I'll tell you like what's the exact error. So if you go to settings, here we need to add a whitelist setting. We need to whitelist some domains in this variable course origin whitelist. If we do this, then the course error will be gone. So let's add our front end URL. So it will be http slash localhost 3000. And then yeah, if I go back, if I reload now, okay, the error is gone, and the select element is populated with some values. For example, if I change this to euro, I want to know like how much 1000 euro will be in USD. So convert. Okay, there is some issue here, and the issue is 404 not found, because if I go here, like I'll go to URLs file, URLs, and you can see convert. Okay, slash convert slash the currencies. So go to page.js, and here change the URL. It will be slash convert slash currency. So if you do conversion now, okay, the data is coming, but it is coming out of the this div. So for keeping this inside, just go to code editor, and then okay, keep it inside. Save. Okay, now the value is coming properly. If I just change some value and convert, voila, it's working. So this application is working perfectly fine. So we'll prepare it for deployment. We have to do some steps for make sure it's deployable. So first thing we have to do is like go to settings, like in backend, go to backend, and then inside settings, we need to set all these things in .env file. Instead of directly calling them like in settings, we have to create like move all these variables to env file, and we have to call from there. So it is mainly so that secrets can be stored in inside env file, and you can ignore it using git ignore. So that is way more secure. And the debug should be false by default. And in development it can be turned on. So first, let's keep debug is equal to true here, but debug will call config, and this config comes from this decouple library. So from decouple, import config, save. And then now let's give the variable name debug. And initially I want the default value to be false, and then cast it as bool, so that if this value is true, then it will it will be set based on that. Like if the value is not there, then it will be false by default. And cast is equal to bool means we're just telling the data type like it is a boolean. And then allowed host, uh, let's save it here inside env. So allowed host can be allowed host will be like a list. So a list can be stored inside env file like this, like localhost dot localhost comma space and then dot. If you have some production url, then you can just keep your production url .com, save. And for getting that data, we have csv in decouple, csv, and then go to your settings, config, and call this allowed host variable name. This will get the value, and then we're casting it like csv. And secrets, it's not a good idea to store a secret key inside this settings file. So let's create a variable for storing secret key. Secret key is equal to, and we will store some random value with numbers and letters, save. And then in the same way we can get secret key, config of secret key, then default value will be this value, save. If I print all these variables, you will see it's coming from .env file. So debug and then allowed host, save. And then if I check the backend terminal, allowed host not found, declare it in env var. Let's go to env file, allowed hosts. Okay, is host, save, run the backend server again, and you can see the secret key is coming from .env file, and also true is coming from env file, and the list of domains is coming from .env file. So this is how we can store like secrets inside .env file. This is more secure way to do things, and you can just ignore this file in using .git ignore file, so that it won't be uploaded inside VCS. So yeah, for front end, we have to build this folder. So npm run build to see whether there are any breaking things. So build is successful. That means we won't have any issue while deploying this front end in some cloud platform. So both our Django backend and Next.js frontend are deployable. So that's it for the project. Thank you for being a part of this project, and I hope you have learned a lot about building a full stack application using Django and Next.js. Thank you.